they still think they're worth full price.
When we stop being honest with people, we get takes like this. Scribe, let's talk about it.
Do you guys want to know what it's like dating after 50? Either they're damaged, they smell funny, or they still think they're worth full price. I mean, like, what the hell?
So even if we want to take what she's saying, we'll call it true. We'll call it true. We all smell funny. We're all damaged. We all have issues. When we're not honest with people, especially when we're not honest with women about some of the stuff that we, kind of just allow. It's cool for you to hate on men. It's cool for you to say whatever you want. And there should be no expected reprisal from it. But this is why men have this disconnect with you, because you want to be so supportive about girls, and everyone's beautiful and everyone's perfect and everyone's a 10. You find people that are fine insulting people, that are fine ignoring the reality of what they look like and saying, and not paying any attention to saying, why are you having such a hard time dating men? Well, physically you're not attractive. You're not appealing to most men. So that is the issue. But we always have to couch what we say in flowery words, in accepting terms, for that very basic message to go down. And sometimes we're just looking for people to have common decency. You can easily turn this message around and saying, I've had a difficult time dating after 50 for the following reasons. I just don't find myself attracted to those men that are in their over 50. That goes down quite differently than you trying to be insulting to men. But again, we get it, because this is the new norm. This is our reality. And men, while you're being talked about, while you're being made fun of, while you're being called less than, while they're making fun of your mental health, while they're making fun of your struggle, you're still expected to treat them with kid gloves. You're still expected to maintain at least that level of chivalry. And you can say it means nothing. It seems silly. It's not important. It's just someone using their free speech. Right. But when we see this played out on a different screen, it's when you see the violence, when you see the physical violence towards men. And as much as you like to deny and say it doesn't happen because your life is small, your viewpoint is very small on what you simply see here, the reality is it happens. When the newer stats coming out saying, no, violence is going both ways. 50-50 in domestic relationships. Again, and with one still underreporting because of fear of being called whatever name you want to put under the sun. In reality, it's not an easy thing to be a man when you're being told that you're not valuable, that you're not important, while another gender has carte blanche to do and say whatever they want about you. Open misandry is the new way on the internet, and the rest of us are supposed to sit back and say, yo, that's just cost of doing business. That's just what it is today. You don't get a say. You don't get to be offended. You don't get to be bothered. You don't even get to lash out when you're the one being berated. What do you think happens? People take a step back. You see men withdrawing from society. You see men withdrawing from the things that you now want them to be present in. No one's being chivalrous. No one's giving up their seat. Why? We understand that all this, our relationship was a give and take. It had to be a relationship. I was getting something from this. Being called and being known as a gentleman provided me a certain status and stature in life. Now it means nothing. You get confused when you look at men and say, we'll take something as simply as being a baby daddy. Why do you think being a father is just about you sending money? Because you reduce me to money. You reduce my input to money. You reduce my value to money. When you reduce me to these smaller incremental spaces, all I'm doing is withdrawing. All I'm doing is saying the juice is not worth the squeeze, so I'm going to take my attention, I'm going to put it elsewhere. Or before I even get involved with this, I'll know not to even try, not to even bother. And we constantly say this here, this is not all of you. But just the same way you say it's all, it's not all men, but it's always a man. Well, we can use that very same logic. We can use that very same logic to the exclusion of women and say, yo, you're all gold diggers, even though most of you aren't. I need to protect myself from this, so I have to avoid most of you. So I have to avoid paying. I have to avoid helping you out any type of financial difficulty because some of you are gold diggers. Maybe that doesn't resonate with you because you don't do that. Maybe it's not harsh enough. But when you think about paternity fraud, well, it's a possibility. It's always a woman, right? It's always not all women. It's always a woman. Why is that? You hear how that sounds to you. You'd be offended when men say, "Hey, I want a DNA test." You're offended by it. But when you get to come on here and say the worst things about men, either you're saying it directly, indirectly, you just go off with it and you're like, cool, whatever. They're supposed to take it. They're not supposed to retaliate. They're not supposed to look at this woman and start making fun of her double chins, her weight, and say, yeah, you don't even deserve cats. We'll probably eat them. We're not allowed to say stuff like that. You frown when we say stuff like that. You call us misogynists when we say stuff like that. How long do you get to keep punching someone before you turn around and scream, yo, that's a female? How long does she get to keep wailing on you before you push her away and then everyone wants to jump in and suddenly say, no, you shouldn't be doing this? We constantly watch men be belittled and think this is just normal. And then we cry when they aren't doing what we want them to do in society. Listen, before we finish this off, you like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss no uploads. If you're getting value from this channel, all these videos, subscribe is the best way to help the channel. Subscriber Sunday, we got it coming up tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central Time, so make sure you don't miss it. Jump in the chat. Let us know you're there. So listen, again, I want to give things from a male point of view. When we constantly have to deal with this, we constantly have to see stuff written out like this. We constantly see videos. If you saw videos day in, day out about how terrible you were, because remember, a lot of the conversation does not individualize men. It just says men. It doesn't matter if you have any type of connection to those type of men. Those aren't the men in your category. Those aren't the men in your niche. You're not anything like that. You were raised differently. You're across the world. You're still part of that men. And even when we try to say, hey, not all of us are like that, you still paint us with that wide brush. But when it comes down to you as an individual, you want to be known as an individual. When men turn around and say, well, you women do this, I don't. And somehow that's supposed to suffice. You don't really have real conversations, real discussions with men because we still treat you with the kid gloves. And when you do have those real conversations in the pockets, in these spaces, you always end up calling that men a misogynist. When men treat you how they treat their friends, actual friends, not someone they're trying to be with, they're trying to just be real with them, that's when you don't like that interaction. It's going to get to a point where the men just say, hey, fine, enough. And then you're getting all the pushback. You're getting peaks of it right now. What do you call them? You call them sassy. When you have an opinion that differentiates from yours, you call them sassy. You call them DL. You have to look at this. After a certain amount of time, the guilt and the shame and the insults stop working. And you still end up worrying or wondering where the men are. You drove them off and you keep ignoring your hand in that. Listen, if you disagree, let me know down in the comments below. If you see other videos on your screen, check those out. Let me know your thoughts about those in those videos. And of course, if you listen to my voice now, you have not subscribed, I think you should. I'm trying to build something dope. I'll see you in the next one.